Howdy, 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 and welcome to episode 5 of Cast Party Community Theater Unmasked. This is the YouTube show that digs into the dirty underbelly of local theater. No, forget about it. No, it's second thought. Let's just say we're going to chat about topics that most community theater groups share so we can learn from each other and improve our productions. To that end, I'm really excited to have our panelists this month who will examine the topic from their perspectives. Our topic this month is there we go. How community theaters operate as nonprofit organizations. So we hope to touch on areas like working with volunteers, membership in your groups, board structure, funding, and whatever else we talk about. So that's the direction we're going to this time, and we'll talk about next month a little later. So this is just my standard reminder that this is not a live show, but it's a recording for the Cast Party YouTube channel. So please respond there with questions of your own or your own thoughts on any of the topics, including the ones from the past. It is also vital to our existence that you pass this show along to everyone in your group and subscribe so we know you're out there. All right, got that out of the way, so let's get going. I would like our panelists to introduce themselves and the primary group they work with and that kind of thing. Denise, why don't you start us off?
Hello, my name is Denise Plantenberg, and I live in Monroe, Wisconsin. I am connected to Monroe Theatre Guild as their facilities manager, which I've been doing for about 5.5 years now. I retired from our school district after doing 30 some years as the bookkeeper there. And Monroe is about a little over 10,000 people. Monroe Theatre Guild is the main community theater in town. We've actually been going for 54 years. This is our 54th season. And we bought a building back in 2007. We purchased a building. And in 2011 was when we performed our first shows here in the building. Yeah, so that's Monroe Theatre Guild.
Can I ask you before I go on to Ron, how many shows do you do in a year, or productions, we'll call them?
We do four productions a year. Plus we have a comedy night, which is local comedians. So we actually have 5 productions a year, 4 shows, plays or musicals, and then the comedy night. And we have other things going on during the year too, but that's what our season looks like.
Okay, well, we'll talk to Ron about comedians because that's part of his life as well. So thank you, Denise. Ron, let us know about you.
Hi, my name is Ron Brown, and I'm the president of Theater Unlimited here in Janesville, Wisconsin. Janesville is about 65,000 people, so a little bit larger than Monroe. And you would think we'd have access to a lot more talent, but that's not necessarily true because there are at least 5 theater groups. So the talent gets kind of spread out for us. But that still doesn't stop us from doing some really quality shows. We only usually do 2 a season, mainly because we do majority of our shows at the Janesville Performing Arts Center. And they are pretty well booked up with all the other groups, the things they do, the acts they bring in. So it is limited. Would we go somewhere else to do shows? Of course. But, the Performing Arts Center is our home.
Okay. Well, let's just start out this topic. And maybe Ron, we'll start with you. So let's go through how many paid members you have, assuming people pay to be a member of your group. Is there any direct benefits they get other than just being a member of your group? And how many of your membership now we're talking about would you call active? What percentage of them?
We are a little different than most theater groups. We actually do not have memberships.
Okay.
We do not have season ticket holders. It's something we've looked at, but it's not something that we have done yet. When the organization was first started back in 92, we were doing mainly shows to help other organizations. Like we would do fundraisers for the YWCA. We did a fundraiser to raise money to build the Performing Arts Center here in town. And we
Okay.
did 2 or 3 different shows for that. Uh, so, yes, we really don't have any paid members. It would be nice. I'll be the first to admit that to have season ticket holders and have membership and know that you can count on that income for each show coming up. That
Right.
would be very beneficial.
Well, we'll dig into the financial parts because your process is going to be a lot different than mine or Denise's. So,
Right.
okay, that's fair. And so when you when you need to staff something, staff a show, you're pulling from people that have done it before, or people or the director knows.
Yes, for the most part. We do have 9 members on our board that are
Okay.
very active, and we just rebuilt our board be a year ago. The board used to have 9 people, and then over the years it dwindled. Theater itself is very cyclical. It goes up and down. And what had happened with us, we had lost board members, and at one point when I was gone, they had dropped to 4 members on the board. And when I've talked to one of the other members here last year, he says, after the last show, he says, I don't think the board's going to continue. And I was a member of the board for 12 years. And I said, and a very good friend of mine, Dennis Vichinsky, was one of the founding members. I said, no, we're not going to let Theater Limited die. I said, I will come back. I said, we will rebuild the board. And that's the position we're in now. We just rebuilt the board last January. So it's been a year. And we've got 9 members now on the board, which is and we have a great board that have all types of experience in different aspects, not only of theater, but are members of the community. So we do have, the access to get people to come and help. And as I always tell people, you don't need to be on the board to help.
Right.
We can take anybody.
But it sounds like sometimes boards are decision-making boards.
Right.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It sounds like yours is an active board. They're
yes,
doing
our board
a lot
is very active. Yes.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Denise, once you pick it up from there, how many members do you have? That kind of thing.
We've got about 150 members right now, members/sponsors. We have 2 different levels. We have membership levels and we have sponsorship levels. And our membership levels go from 25 to 100, depending on what you want to do. Sponsorships start at 150 and go up. And a lot of times those are business people or individuals.
So of that group, how many of those would you call active or that are active in your productions?
I would say probably about 20% of those people are either help to build the sets or help to usher shows or audition for shows, direct shows, all of that. So we've got a pretty good active volunteer base. So we're an all volunteer organization other than myself. I'm semi-retired and paid part-time. And we have a custodian for the building who puts in maybe 20 hours a month. So other than that, everything that happens here is by volunteers.
So are you paid by virtue of your position there, or what are you paid for?
Basically, I run all of the happenings in the office, for starters. I do all the communication. I track all the memberships and the sponsorships, make sure the bills get paid, track the mail, track all correspondence, that type of thing. Yeah. And I was doing quite a bit of the production work, as a producer for Theatre Guild. This last year, I said, you know what? I'd kind of like to step back a little bit because my part-time position doesn't look like that anymore, and so we've actually started adding a production manager to our production teams to take a lot of the night work and the set work and all of that type of thing off of me, so I can operate the business of it more than the producing of it.
Will that person be paid some sort of stipend?
No, it's all
That person
volunteer.
no.
Mm-hmm.
No, except I just wondered, since you're hiring somebody to take some of that off on. Okay.
Yeah. No,
Um,
it's in the past, our production teams and our producers were all volunteer until we kind of got this facility manager's position worked out within our organization. And
okay.
so we've kind of gone back to some of that. I still do a lot of the business side of it, getting the rights, ordering things for the production, that type of thing. And I organize all the volunteers for the shows too. But the boots on the ground part of producing the show is our production manager now.
Let's talk about your board before I leave you.
Oh, okay.
Your board is
We have 9 people on the board, and essentially
okay.
I answer to the board. We have a past president too. Sometimes it's the past president from 2 or 3 years ago, because sometimes the reason our president steps down is they don't have time anymore, and they don't have time to be the past
Right.
president
Yeah.
either. So, but yeah,
Understood.
basically our board is 9 people, and we meet once a month. We have a lot of committees that break out of that board, though, and so there's a lot of committee work too.
Okay, that's fair. We have about 100 members in our group. Was Stoughton's about the same size as Monroe, maybe a little bit bigger, 12, 13,000, and just about 15 miles from Madison. So there's a lot of interaction with Madison groups as well. We have a 13-member board. It was 11 for a long time, and then we had a lot of interest, and so we said we'll just add 2 more, which we did. So the last maybe 5-6 years we've had a 13-member board, which helps because not everybody can make every board meeting, and sometimes that hurt when people weren't there. So Ron, I would say we have an equally active board. I would say 90% and maybe more of all of our producers come from the board. So each show has a separate producer, and so that producer is in charge of putting together the teams. So that's that usually comes from the board, and but they're very active in all of that stuff. We keep saying we want to do a better job of having actual committees, but we actually have groups, but nobody likes the word committee because it sounds like they're back at work again. So I guess we're calling them teams now. So
good. I like that better too.
Yeah. So and we are totally volunteer as well. The only thing that we do is we pay directors.
Oh, okay.
We pay all directors, and since the majority of our directors come from outside our group, so maybe one every 2 or 3 years comes from inside the group. I've directed 3 or 4 things over the last 15 years, and so it does happen. So we do 3 shows a year, one of which we write. So we write an original show for the Sitnamai celebration, which is the big Norwegian celebration where the whole town goes nuts, kind of like Cheese Days in Monroe, celebrating the culture there, the Swiss culture. So we write a actually very involved, complicated comedy show. The plots, the sets, the special effects, video effects, those are new. Just jokes are the same. Same jokes. Our audience would kill us if we tried to change any of that. So anyway, we do write that. 4 of us write that every year, and that's in May. So we do that, and throughout the year, we do the same thing that you would do. We do musicals, we do comedies, we do straight plays. Of course, straight plays don't pull as many dollars, so we have to be careful with that. But we've done a good job. We have a tremendously supportive community here. And we'll get a little bit more involved with where all these funds are coming from to do all this stuff. So like I say, we have about 100 people. I would say our percentage might be a little higher. We're probably at about 30, maybe about a third of the people I would call active. In some cases, some people just come to clean and take tickets, but that's the level of involvement that they like, and we're happy with that, because we're closer to lots of lots of towns, we get people auditioning here from everywhere. So we pull from Platteville, from Janesville, from all over the place, and so um, we don't have like a repertory group in our theater group that you kind of see these people all the time. I would say that's not true. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
one a year someone will do, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's all different.
We
So
are happy that we actually have started pulling some people from Madison and Janesville, and of course we're right on the state line, so we have a lot of people from
yeah,
Freeport and some of the towns there. So yeah, so word is
that's great.
spreading. Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
I really
But
believe that theater is on its way back too. So I think more people are wanting to get involved in doing things because we get people from Beloit, Rockton, Roscoe, Milton, Edgerton, so those surrounding
Mm-hmm.
communities for us too. And as I said earlier, theater is very, it's a cycle. And it was down for a while, and I really believe it's on its way back up. More people
Mm-hmm.
are going again.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's nice to see.
it's kind
Yeah.
of the COVID bounce a little bit too, huh?
Yes.
I would
All right, so
definitely.
let's.
Yeah.
You'd agree with that, Denise?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. We saw quite people were happy to come back. They were excited to come back, and yeah, it was encouraging.
So we're all working with volunteers. So let's talk about that for a few minutes. So the struggle that we have, and I'll just throw this out here, is that since we have this core group, Ron, you have 9 plus whoever else you can grab onto.
Right.
You've got 25 or 30, and we've got about the same of these people. Like our lighting crew is, there's like 3 people, and we try to rotate them so that not everybody's doing it all the time. But the truth is that's easy for them to get burned out. And so we struggle with that a little bit. Some people are just better at it, and they step up, and it's like, how do you keep people involved when, in our case, we're only doing 3 shows a year? How do you keep them involved, happy, active, not burned out? It's all about volunteers, and every organization, whether it's theater or not, has the same problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering how you work with volunteers so that they don't burn out and they enjoy helping.
For us, we find like you said, Dan, we've got the same people who do lights, we've got the same people who do sound. Right now we've got a student, a high school student. He started with us when he was like 12 years old on our soundboard, and he's fantastic. But next year he graduates, so who's going to be the next person that we can find? And we're starting to work on that. But yeah, that is part of the problem. Is we've had people who have contributed a lot over the years and just decided they couldn't do it anymore. I was one of those people
Yeah.
about 6 or 7 years
Yeah.
ago when I was still working a full-time job and trying to do what I could to help Theater Guild. And, and I finally, there was a year there where I said, you know what, I've just got to take a break. So sometimes they come back after they've stepped out for a while and find that they miss it and they want to come back. But there's no good answer for how to prevent burnout other than to try to spread it around whenever you can. So, yeah.
Ron?
One of the benefits we have, because of working with the Janesville Performing Arts Center, their technical people work our shows. So
Okay.
we don't need to find a lighting person. We don't
Okay.
need to find a sound person.
Okay.
That's part of the contract that when we signed to do our show there, their services are included, which comes in very handy. We do have a guy on our board that is very much into tech and knows lighting and sound and things.
Sure.
So we
Yeah.
can double up if need be. And so that aspect of it, we don't worry too much about. Where we run into it is, okay, who's going to do costumes? People don't think about costuming. It is a bear. It's so hard to do that over and over and over, especially if you're trying to do a period piece,
Mm-hmm.
finding the things. And we're very lucky. One of our board members, his wife, is an amazing costumer. And she helps us. And I know we just did I Love You, You're Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And Kathy
I
sings in
saw
our
that.
choir.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Kathy, I got a question for you. And she looked at me and said, no. I said, I haven't asked yet. And she says, no. I said, no. I just want you to help. I said, we've got one of our board members that will do it. We just need, oh, yeah, I can help. I just don't want to do it. I said, okay.
Right. Don't want to leave the. Don't want to leave.
Yes.
And we get some of that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ron, do you have a place where things like that or set pieces are stored? Do you own a
Yes,
place?
in the basement at the Performing Arts Center, there's a couple of different areas. We have moved all of our equipment to JPEG. All the
Oh,
costumes are there. All of our props are there. Our wood is there. Our
so do you
props
pay a
are
monthly
there.
fee for
No, that
storage?
is part of that, because basically it's what's ours is yours and what's yours is ours, and any theater group can use whatever. We are trying to make Janesville just a big theater community family while
Wow, I
still
had no
keeping
idea.
your own individual identity.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
still Janesville Little Theater. It's still Spotlight on Kids. It's still Theater Unlimited. Still Stage One. The different groups. But if you've got a desk and chair that, hey, can I borrow that? Yes, it's here in the basement. Go ahead and use it. And
Wow,
it's really working well with each other.
Good.
that's great. Yeah, that's great because storage is constant. I don't know. You guys may be aware that we own our own theater building
Mm-hmm.
in downtown Stoughton. It's 104-year-old building.
Yep. The old Opera
That
House. Yeah.
the old no, not the Opera House.
Oh, not the Opera House.
It's the next block down from the Opera
Okay.
House. The Opera House has got they're busy 3 nights a week all year. They
Okay.
have shows 3 nights a week all year.
No.
Not
Okay.
music, and
Yeah.
they sell out most of their shows.
Hmm.
So I saw Judy Collins there last year. I saw lots of comedians there. Anyway, so we're one block down on the same side of the street. We have a
Okay.
marquee, and it was built as a movie house, and we purchased it in '99. And it was Badger Theater, it was called at the time.
Yep.
And so we had a fundraiser and bought the theater and then refurbished it because it was not built for productions at all. It didn't have a stage, didn't have lights, didn't have sound, didn't have any of that stuff. It didn't have bathrooms. So that's another story. But we have a theater. We have our storage there, but it's a finite place. On one side of us is the library. On the other side of us is Fosdell's Bakery. So we ain't going nowhere. We have what we have.
Mm-hmm.
And about twice a year, we get in a dumpster and we start tossing. But we have all of our costumes and all of our props and all of our sets in this building somehow, some way. And that presents its own problems. But having everything at your fingertips is also great.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys handle that?
In Monroe,
Denise?
yeah, this building that I said we bought, we used to be a J.C. Penney store. And
Right.
it was another retail store at a time after that when J.C. Penney left. And then the building came up for sale again. So that's when we bought it. We've got an underground garage where we can store all of our set pieces. We've got the basement where we have kind of a wood shop, an art room, and all of our props stored. We've got what used to be the catalog area for J.C. Penney is our costume room. Everything is packed full. And we have a nice big rehearsal room. Our theater seats 120 people. It's a black box. And so we have a lot of schools come to us. Monroe High School and Monroe Middle School. We kind of have an agreement with them that they can use our pieces. So, but yeah, we have we're filled to capacity. Our costume room right now is undergoing some major purging and reorganization, and as many times as we've cleaned and sorted and pushed and tried to make room for things, after about a show or two, it looks like nobody was there. It's just it's a constant battle. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're
Yeah,
lucky. We've got a wonderful facility there, and our community is so supportive of it. We're very fortunate.
Yeah. So we all are operating under different funding circumstances. As Ron, yours is quite different than my experience. So how much of a struggle is it to fund shows? Now, Denise, you talked about having corporate sponsors. I shouldn't say corporate, but sponsorships. So
Mm-hmm.
people are kind of pledging money at a higher level than,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, somebody who has a $25 membership, right? So you have
Yeah.
people above that. I assume that's a lot of what you do to fill your budget and fill your coffers.
It's a big part of it, but really our productions, our performances are about half of our income for the year, and they kind of help fund the next show. A lot of our sponsorships and memberships are also a big part of the revenue that we take in, but building operations, administrative, taking care of the building, maintenance and upgrades and that type of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes from our sponsorships and just general donations, but really our performances are 50% of our income for a year, and our expenses for performances are only about 16% because we've got most of our own lumber, we've got most of our own costumes. It's rare that we need to go outside to costume a show, and so that keeps our production costs down so that the revenue from the shows can go, aside from funding the next show, it can also be used when we have major expenses coming up. And we have a major expense right now because our roof is in need of some repairs. We've got a flat rubber roof, and we fixed half of it back in 2017. We fixed half of it. The other half was fine. Well, the other half's not fine anymore. So there's going to be some major fundraising that needs to happen this year in order to pay for that. We've got savings accounts, but we don't want to draw those down too much because you never know what else is going to come up. So fundraising's big.
Like COVID, where you have no income. Like
Yeah,
COVID.
exactly. That was the only good thing for me for COVID at Theatre Guild was when I was tired of my own house, I could go sit in my office and at Theatre Guild, and there was nobody there.
You had a place to hide.
I did, exactly.
So are you a 501c3? I assume you are.
We are, yes.
You're a nonprofit. And Ron, your group as well. So why don't you talk a little bit about funding shows, Ron? What is it like for you guys?
Well, for us, we're very lucky. Over the years, we've built up our savings account. There was a time here probably 4 or 5 years ago where we were very lucky. One of our board members loaned us the amount to get the royalties with the promise we'd pay them back once ticket sales came in, which was nice to have someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
But now we're getting more stable. We're at the point now where we've got a good savings account. Of course, is there ever enough money? No. But we've got enough to pay for the next show. And as long as we can recoup and at least break even, make a little something on it, that's great. That way we've got, we replenish the funds so we can do the next show.
So what are your expenses primarily then, Ron, if you aren't paying for facilities per se?
Well, we do have the facility rental. The rental for JPEG for a 2-week rental in the main theater is $2,500. Now that does not include, there's $1 per ticket fee for handling.
Ah,
There is
okay.
$2 per ticket fee for something else, and so it adds up. But they also cap it out at the rental price. So the most we would ever pay for rental would be $5,000,
Okay.
and we never reached that. So
So when you build sets, do you build them elsewhere and then reassess them,
there is a
put them back
spot
in?
in the basement. There's a workshop down there where we can work. But then,
Okay.
we cannot get on the stage though until the Monday before we open, because it's a
So you're
2 week
working on,
rental.
so you can, so before the 2 weeks, where are you rehearsing?
We can rehearse there at JPEC in either the arts education room. They have
Okay, they
the
have other
black
space.
box. They have
Yeah.
other spaces that we use, because when you rent, you get a credit. So basically, we're
Okay.
paying for it with this credit. We do rehearse other spots. We rehearse in a church. We rehearse at
Okay.
somebody's house. It depends upon the size of the cast and
Yeah.
in the show. And that's how we built our show, or our funds back up, is we did smaller cast musicals,
hmm hmm
because all we do are musicals. And
Oh, okay. I
so
didn't know
Okay.
that.
yes, that's all we do are musicals. So the royalties and the fees are a little higher than just the standard show.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, a lot higher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So, um, Denise, I don't know if you knew. Do you know what their theater is? When I was living in Janesville, it was the junior high,
It was
I've
the old
been there.
Marshall Middle School.
and then
Yeah.
okay, you have been
Oh,
there,
good.
Yeah.
and Ron, you'll have to see their facility is pretty amazing. It is a black box theater, on the small side, but uh, they have a rehearsal space that's huge, and so you can rehearse 50 feet from where you're going to perform. So
Mm-hmm.
that
That's
helps a big
nice.
big
Yeah.
way. Um, our joy and our sadness is rehearsing and building on the same spot.
Hmm.
Um, and we don't have facilities to just take all the 2x4s we use for this show. We keep as many as we can, and if they're less than this, they're gone.
Yep.
We just don't have
Mm-hmm.
room for all that stuff. So, but the cool thing is, sometimes from the second week of the show, you're rehearsing with the set.
That's nice.
So
That's
that's
how
Mm-hmm.
the group in Beloit does it. They have the stage there. Their set is usually set within a week or two, and
yeah.
you're
And
in the
even if it's not, you
space.
start to you're in the space, and so
Yeah.
it does
Yeah.
it does help the actors. The
Yes.
downside is that you know it's a mess.
Yeah.
The theater is full of dust, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to constantly clean and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
So our percentage, I don't know what our percentage is, but our percentage is a lot higher than yours of what the ticket costs. Our ticket sales go towards our budget, and the with one caveat, we have a historic theater, which means anything that's major has to go through some processes,
Mm.
because we're designated a historical site, and we also have a roof that we've spent 40-50 grand 3 times, I think,
Mm-hmm.
over the last 15 years, and they're all people that work with historic roofs, and we still can't get it right. But anyway, so we've had major leaks even over the last year.
Yeah.
Um, but we do have a group in town. We have places that we apply for grants, and the only reason we use the grants is for building. So anything that's major, like a roof, we try to get as many grants as we can through historic places, or we have
Mm-hmm.
a group in town, the Bryant Foundation. We apply to them, and we might get $5,000 or $20,000 depending on the project, but it's only for the building. Everything is for the
Mm-hmm.
building. Everything else, basically, our bank account is 100% from ticket sales.
Mm.
We don't have levels like you have. If you're a member, it
Mm-hmm.
costs you $20, and there
Okay.
are no other levels than that. And
Mm-hmm.
donation. Occasionally, people will do it. We have a place where you could put bricks in the front, and you could put your name in the arms of the chair, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
couple $100 here and there. So we've only done 2 fundraisers in the last 30 years that I know of, maybe more. One was to buy the theater, and the other one was to refurbish the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So we did those, and we had a year of fundraising. But other than that, no fundraising. Ticket sales pay for all the shows, and the building stuff, we pay for some of it, but the big projects, we try to apply for grants.
Mm-hmm.
That's our financial
Yeah,
the way
all
we
of
do it.
this with the roof has just come up in the last couple months, and so I want to learn more about finding grants and that type of thing. We don't have too many people who do grant writing. I've written a little bit here and there, but grants are something we really need to tap into more. They really are.
All right,
Um,
well, I'll connect you up with some of our grant writing folks here, because we do it all the time.
Great, thank you.
Just somebody, a resource. You
Hmm.
may know it, you may not. At least I'll give you some ideas.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And we are also a nonprofit. We do have investments. We have a few CDs. The goal of the board, the stated goal, is to never go below enough to fund the next show. So
Hmm.
we kind of say 10. We always said 10 grand is kind of never go below 10 grand,
Right.
because we have heat, lights. I'm hating you now, Ron, because we have heating, lights, storage,
Insurance.
fixed. Normally, insurance is another biggie.
Oh, it's big.
All of those
Yes.
things are just part of our operating budget, and that's happening whether there's COVID or nobody at your shows or whatever. That still
Exactly.
occurs.
Mhm.
So we have a pretty good. We built ourselves back up from COVID to have what we normally have in our account. So we're okay, but you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Sometimes you have a show that doesn't
Right.
pull, and you're struggling.
Well, and last year we had some great shows, and then we had some lesser known shows. And yeah, we knew that by the end of the year, but at the same time, that's not a reason not to do the lesser known shows, because, we're theater. Let's explore everything we can. And so our musicals are always very popular. And a lot of times they're our holiday show, and our holiday show pays a lot of bills throughout the year for us.
What does a holiday show mean to you? What does that mean?
This last year we did Holiday Inn, and it's performed usually it's usually performed the first and second weekend of December. And it's not always a musical. Often it's a musical, but it's kind of a tradition in Monroe. People just know that we're going to be doing a show for the holidays. And,
Got it.
we sell out. We'll do 8 performances as opposed to our usual 6. 8 or even 9 performances, which means we double up on some weekends, and those are long days. But yeah, they're very, very popular and very much planned on by our community.
Ron, you've built your board back up, so maybe this is a little unfair, but what percentage of your board time is spent on facilities/financial issues versus the production?
Well, for us, we spend more time actually on productions. But with our board just growing, we've only done
Right.
one show since we've rebuilt the board, so it's hard to say. But this is the first time that I can remember since when I was on the board before that we've already got our next show lined up. We're already working on it. We were 9 months in advance, which had not happened with TOI for a number of years.
Yeah.
It would always be, oh, well, we should probably do a show this year. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And I love that we are ahead of the game.
Good for you.
It doesn't happen often enough. We did have a show in mind, our season next year. We're doing a show in July this year, and then we're going to be doing October and March. And we did have a show lined up in October until we got the royalties, and it was just over 9,000. And we went, we're not going to do
Holy smokes.
that.
Ooh.
What, do they have gold music books or what?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a brand new show. It was Lizzie.
Okay.
Lizzie the musical.
Oh yeah, the Lizzie Borden thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being October, that's a great time to do it.
Sure.
Until
yeah,
we threw the royalties at us, and we went, that's $1,000 a show. No.
Yeah.
So what about you, Denise? What percentage of your time is spent on financial and facilities versus production on a
I
board
would
meeting?
say probably most board meetings deal more with the financials and the business side of it. We plan our season, we start planning our season the summer before the coming year. So we do our seasons based on an annual January through December. And so the
Oh,
July
okay.
before that, um, like this July, we'll start planning for 2025. And so we figure out, we get bids from various directors, and they, propose their shows. We look into them a little bit and decide, usually by about September, what our next season's going to look like. So there isn't a lot of discussion that needs to happen once all of the shows are approved and we know who our directors are going to be, and the director starts building their team. So when we have board meetings, it's a lot of committee reports because, like I said, we've got a lot of committees. And so it's usually committee reports. A lot of it is around the running of the theater. Publicity is one of the committees. Policy is another one of the
Hmm.
committees.
Same.
Those types of things. So we don't spend a lot of time talking about productions because those discussions are happening outside of the board meeting, and then the reports come back.
Mm.
So
So
a very different board meeting than you have, Ron, for sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely,
Now,
yes.
I was on the board about 10 years ago, and a lot of our discussions at that time, we hadn't, oh gosh, I was on the board when we acquired the building. There was then a lot of discussion about what shows are we going to do, and our things, all of our storage was dispersed all around the city of Monroe. We had garages
Right.
and basements and attics and everything else. So those meetings back then had a lot to do with the shows we were having and who was going to do what. Now that we operate just a little bit differently, it's more about the business of it.
Good. Okay, that's fair. That's what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about I would say we're about 50, depending on the time of year. And we're Ron, we used to be kind of like that not that long ago. Of we didn't have a pattern that we could subscribe to as
Mhm.
far as picking shows. We'd be good one time, and then all of a sudden we're like, we don't have a director. Now we are the January board meeting is the latest time when we can establish our next year, which is we do the school year because we don't do a summer production.
Mm.
So the school year is our calendar. So the October to May schedule for us is decided the January before the October. So 9 months to a year ahead. We
Mm-hmm.
have
That's
the
good.
whole,
Yep.
and so that's something, so we're not so panicky. If we're going to get panicky, we're panicking a year and a half beforehand because we're still struggling with it.
Hmm.
So now that we just a recommendation, Ron, if you put it in your board bylaws, if you make it that's what you're going to do, whatever it is, then somebody in your board is going to go, hey, aren't we supposed to be doing this? And
That's a good idea. Yes.
you know it, and you just make it whatever pattern you think works for you. This works for them because they have a December thing going on and we don't. So um so on your so are there things coming up that you see changing for your group as far as running it as a business, a nonprofit? Or you've both talked a little bit about some of the evolution of where you are right now. Are there things that you see going forward that are going to be challenges or things that you're trying out in your groups that you can see the direction they're going?
Well, one of the things that we run into where we have a disadvantage as opposed to both your groups is because we are at the Performing Arts Center. Now,
Hmm.
this year we are October, March. When they released the calendar in, I think it was probably January 1st, you have to actually sign up for dates and have the shows planned. So,
Yeah.
like this year, we're doing a show in July because we didn't get our shows in on time. So next year for the 24-25 season, we've got October, March, which is the dates we want. And as long as we have our shows in mind, we're okay.
Okay.
If we get our dates in on time. And
Yeah.
if we don't, they'll say, well, this group's already got it, or we're bringing in this act at those weekends, and you may end up getting slotted somewhere else. So that's one
I
of the disadvantages of being
I
there
think
as opposed
bribery
to.
and violence is your answer. You just need to rough some people up over there. I'd hate to see
Yeah.
anything happen, kind of whatever.
But
Denise, what do you think?
they're great to work with, and
Yeah, of course.
they're very accommodating, and we
I
have a
always thought
great
that
relationship with them, so that helps.
I always thought the upside and downside of your theater, your facility, is the size. It's great when you fill it,
Right,
but when you have a small show and it's only partially filled, it's quite a distance from the stage
right,
as the seating starts. So that's the downside of your facility,
right.
is that it's a little tougher for the actors sometimes.
Well, one of the things that's nice also there, though, they do have a black box,
Right.
and given a choice, like I know you came and saw "I Love You, You're Perfect."
Mhm.
I would have rather have done that in the black box theater.
Would have worked
It's a
great.
more intimate show.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we were contracted already for the big theater. And the original show, and I can't remember which one it was. Oh, it was Company we were going to do.
Right.
We couldn't get the
That's
rights.
also a small show.
It's a small show,
Yeah,
but it would have worked fine on the big stage.
Yeah, it
Better
would have.
than
Yeah,
"I
for
Love
sure.
You, You're Perfect" would have.
I think so.
And
so.
but it's going on tour, so they wouldn't give us the rights.
So how big is the black box there?
You can sit 120 in there.
So about your same size as yours,
Right,
Denise?
Monroe. Yep.
Roughly.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So Denise, what about you guys? What's the future look like? What's going on?
We've been trying to decide how to get more revenue. We've done some fundraisers. They never produce what we hope they will, and we hear what other organizations in town are making off their fundraisers. It's like, what are we doing wrong? But we are successful with selling tickets. So actually, we just had a programming meeting just the other night, and we were kind of tossing around some ideas, and we're trying to, because we've always got a stage either going up or coming down, and we're always on to the next show. So what can we do that doesn't necessarily disrupt what's going on in the theater already with a set being constructed or rehearsals or that type of thing? Because a lot of times our musicals are using the rehearsal room and the stage at the same time. So, so what some of the things we kind of threw around, and they sound like fun, that would just be like a one night thing every couple months, a game night, where we would recreate something like Family Feud or something like that, and just make it a one night event. An improv club, and do some improv or something like that, and just try to find, so that if there is a stage going up, it doesn't matter, you can just push everything aside, set up in the center of all of it, and just make it something informal. We've talked about having movie nights, and there is a fair amount of expense with getting licensed to show movies, but then there's also those that are probably in the public domain. If you really want to go way back and have some fun with some of the old silent films or something like that. So those are some of the ideas we were throwing around, and probably some of what we're going to probably try to put into action just to make some extra revenue. So that's something I see coming.
Before I ask Ron, because Ron is Mr. Improv here, so I'm going to give him a chance to talk to you about that. But the one thing that made a ton of money for us when we were the two times that we did do fundraisers in 2005 and 2009 was a trivia contest. Trivia contest raised thousands of dollars for us. Thousands. And you just need somebody who has done it before. And people buy a table of 8, and it's $100 to buy a table of 8. And then you have people donate silent auction items, and they're bidding those up, and then you have little games in between there's all sorts of ways to make money at a trivia night, not just bar trivia. but a
Mhm.
trivia night.
Right.
We just made a ton of money.
That's
And
great.
it also takes a little bit of organization, but
Mhm.
not so much. I mean, if you've got somebody who's done it before, even if you paid them,
Yeah.
you'd make a ton, because
Right.
everything, a lot of what you talked about, I went, oop, a lot of people. I'm gonna need a lot of people to do that. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out.
Thank you. Yeah.
Ron has improv. That's part of what you do.
That's part of what I do. I actually teach classes at the Performing Arts Center. We teach kids on Saturdays, and we have an adult class on Wednesdays, which is so much
Okay.
fun. You know, and the good thing about improv is, personally, I think every actor should take an improv class because
Hmm.
you never know what's going to happen on
Mhm.
stage. It teaches you how to think. And more importantly, what improv does, it teaches you how to listen. Because most people listen to respond instead of listening to react.
Mhm.
Because as
Okay.
someone's talking, you're listening, how can I add to this conversation? So you're not really listening. And so
Mhm.
that's what we call active listening, then, is that it teaches them, especially as an actor, it puts you into the scene more. It teaches you to make good choices, and not necessarily good choices, but choices.
Yeah,
And one of the things we push is embrace the failure.
right.
You know, put
Ron,
yourself out there, embrace the failure.
Ron, you are the guy we were talking about at the program meeting the other night to say, well, who can show us how to do this?
See all you're getting?
There you go. And
Viewers out there, see all the info you're getting. Anyway, I wanted to make sure we made that connection because you had mentioned it. I know people sometimes do the dinner not dinner theater is not the right word, but
the murder mysteries.
murder
Oh,
mysteries and that
yes.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mhm.
so much work.
Yeah.
So much work to do
Mm-hmm.
well, and you make some money, but do you make a lot? I don't know.
Mhm.
Anyway, you just don't want to kill your people and use all their energies towards something like this if you can avoid it. It's just more
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
work.
Yes.
Um, but anyway, so a couple of ideas there for everybody.
That's great.
Um,
Yes.
yeah. All right. So we all know running nonprofits is tough. We talked a little bit about volunteerism, how to build. Ron, you talked about it. Denise, you talked about how do you build membership. That's something I'm also very interested in, um, and also in between shows. So if I have somebody that's working on a show, and then the next show we do it in October, say, and we don't do another show till March, we got a whole crew. We got 100 people that aren't doing anything, and so our sometimes our task is to make sure people have things to stay involved, to
Mm-hmm.
stay part of the group, to feel
Mhm.
like they're doing something. And so that's always a little bit of a challenge for us because generally we do November, March, and May. Those are our three shows. Sometimes we'll do another show in January, but those are generally our three shows. So we do have a little bit of a break, which is good. We don't do any shows in summer. And the reason we don't do it, we don't want to. Nobody wants to work in the summer, and so there are children's theater groups. We're so close to Madison and other groups that do. I mean, Oregon does pretty much only summer, and so we don't have to. We don't feel like
Mhm.
there's plenty of opportunities for people to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and just the board is just that we talk about it every year, and we go, nah, I don't really want to do it. So um, so we've been avoiding it. Every now and then, someone will use our theater and we'll rent it out, and they'll do something in the summer. We always say, well, if the theater's busy, if you want to do it, it'll have to be in June or whatever it has
Mhm.
to be.
Mm-hmm.
So we're okay with that. Um, a couple of things here just to kind of wrap up. We've put a whole lot of things out in the universe here. Um, so now we're talking to the people out there that are thinking through these things for ourselves. And one of the categories that I talked about that we wanted to get to was called unsolicited advice. So this is the one thing, Denise and Ron, that someone who's running a nonprofit theater company, what is the one thing that from your experience, that they need to have foremost in their minds? Denise, I'll start with you.
Um, since we are basically an all volunteer organization, a lot of it's important from my point of view to make sure that we recognize our volunteers give them credit whenever possible. On Facebook, mention names and people who have gone above and beyond. Make sure they know how much they're appreciated, how much they're needed. And, and set up we have a regular work night, especially when we've got a show coming up. Wednesday nights are our work nights for doing the stage work, building sets, helping in the costume room or cleaning the basement. And so people kind of know Wednesday nights are the nights they can show up if they want. I usually send out emails asking people to come. And there's usually some benefit for them to be there, snacks or that type of thing. But I guess what I'd say, bottom line, make sure your volunteers know how much they're appreciated and how much they're needed.
Great advice. Ron?
That is, well, for me, one of the things that I keep telling them, be open to new ideas. Be open to old ideas. Don't be one that says, well, we tried that once in 1984 and it didn't work. Well, 1984 is, like 40 years ago. So what didn't work then may work now.
Okay.
And, at least listen to the ideas, discuss them, have good reasons as to why it will or will not work. Just saying we tried it once, that's not a valid reason.
Mm-hmm.
So be open to those ideas. Let them express their feelings. Let them express their ideas. And you'd be amazed at the number of ideas that do come from it. And bounce off them too. Go, oh, I like that idea. Well, what if we, and then take the same idea and just twist it a little.
Right.
And try different, be willing to be open, listen. Yeah.
That's great. Great advice. I would say, based on our things that we're going through, is and sometimes they call it building bench strength. I would not say that any of us here are in a certain age group, but let's just say that 20 years from now, we're probably not doing theater the same way, the three of us. So we need to make sure, and of course it's always hard because young people and young couples have kids and they have work things, they're working up the ladder, whatever, they're moving around. It's hard to get young people to commit and stay part of help you build that organization.
Right.
But that's our goal, is to build more bench strength. We actually actively changed over some board, look for younger people to be on our board. I stepped off so somebody who's really, really conversant with social media could step in and take over some of the promo stuff that I used to do. And we also got some new equipment, and we had some come and learn about the new light board type of things. And we had some people just come in that didn't draw out the light schematics, but they worked the board during a show. And they, because it's fairly computerized and they just needed to push buttons and so forth. But so now we have a whole bunch of people who can work lights who've never worked it, who have helped to build the set, who have helped to do props. And so we're trying to build a bigger, broader base for our group, however many people we have. So I would say be diligent in building bench strength, however and wherever you can. That would be my advice.
I agree with that, Dan.
Good.
We actually do a lot to court the high school kids and get them interested in what's going on. So, and we've had some success with that too. We have them work backstage. We have them work the sound booth. We, have them help with props. And, we don't have a lot of teenagers, but I'd say we've got about half a dozen who we can count on if we need to. So, but then they go off to college and hopefully they come back. So, but
I think we'd also be competing a little bit with the high school. So we have to watch that.
Yeah.
So they do a lot.
We run into that sometimes too. Yep.
Yeah, of course. Okay. And this is the time where we kind of step back from our talking in a broad sense to what this category is called. There it is. My shameless. There it is. Shameless promotion. whatever my sound effect was there. So this is a chance for each of you to talk about what show, audition, production, event, or just your group that you want to promote. You got a minute to tell us all about it. Ron, what do you got?
Well, next Wednesday, the 21st of February, we have a fundraiser coming up. Tickets are $30. There's going to be raffles, treats, meet and greet, a chance to learn about TUI, and we're going to have entertainers there, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then on March 11th and 12th, we're having auditions for Rock of Ages. We're going to be doing that in July this year, which is really exciting. There's been a lot of buzz about the show already. It's a big undertaking, but we're really excited about it, and people are really, really excited.
Will you catch the college kids coming back? Because that's the age group.
It's exactly it, because the show's July 11th through the 20th. Those 2 weekends.
Because that's the people you want for sure for that.
Yep, the kids that just graduated from high school, the college kids coming back.
Yeah.
And because we've got the sign up genius for people to audition, and we've already got 18 people signed up.
Excellent.
To audition already, and we're like,
yeah, that's great.
Yay!
Yeah.
So we're
Denise,
excited about that.
Yeah, great.
We've got Barefoot in the Park coming up March 15th through the 24th, and tickets are on sale now. Ludus is the company that we use, by the way, which is a fantastic free ticketing program. So you can also pay for a subscription and get more. Ludus, Ludus. It's a very, very user-friendly program, and look it up. And I can certainly fill you in on information if you're interested. So Barefoot in the Park, March 15th to the 24th. We've also got auditions right now for our June show, Disney's The Descendants, which is going to be a show for young people. We're getting a little started a little early with auditions, but the production calendar for that is a little broken up because we also have comedy night coming up in April. So we've got a busy spring coming up.
Yeah. Great. Excellent. Well, I will add a little hook for us. Like we're almost the same age as Monroe Theatre Guild. Stoughton Village Players was 50 in 2022. So we're maybe just a year or two younger or older, younger, I guess. So we couldn't do it during COVID. So we're having it's called It Takes a Village, a variety show. And the rule for the variety show was anything that's been performed on our stage in the last 52 years was eligible if someone wanted to pitch it. So they came to auditions with, hey, you did Music Man in 1980. Can I do Trouble? And they auditioned with it. It didn't have to be from our group. It didn't have to be the original person. So we have put together a variety show that goes up the middle weekend in March. The tickets just went on sale for that at our website. And then, so that's going to be great. I think there are 15 shows represented with individuals, including all kids show elements of it, like Annie. So fun stuff. A little bit different for us. Never done anything quite like it. And then we do our Sit in My show that we write every year, which sells out 7 shows in 3 days and is always a blast. So, and then in the fall, I'm letting people know that we're doing the play that goes wrong. And if you're young and athletic and can take a fall, we want you to try out. So we'll be doing those auditions in August or September. So just watch for StoughtonVillagePlayers.org and for that, all that info. With that, I hope you've all enjoyed hearing from Denise and Ron and learning a little bit about how we're alike and actually how we're different, which is kind of cool. And I will thank my panelists. You can take a bow as on our way out. We'll see you next time. Our next time we're going to talk about, here comes, eventually, show promotion and ticketing. Now, we started talking about ticketing here, but that's another whole topic, and show promotion is changing and so forth. I thought that would be a good one to hear what people are doing. So with that, we will say goodbye, and we'll see you next time on Cast Party. Have a great show, everybody. Now I'm